Today we are talking about the sweet psychosis of romantic love and the dilemma of delusion. Whether or not this whole thing is just a figment of your imagination or if it actually exists in the real world. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. Here's the thing your therapist probably won't tell you about romantic love. Is it takes on many of the chemical, neurological, behavioral conditions that you would find in drug addiction and other mental illnesses. Romantic love, for most of the last couple of millennia, has been looked at as a mania, a disorder, a problem. Romeo and Juliet were not star-crossed lovers. No, they were two crazy people. They were two teenagers with impulse control problems. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that romantic love is something that you should be doing. Our cultural narrative has been that your life is not complete until you have landed in romantic love. And that should be the ultimate goal of everything that you do, think, or say. Well, maybe, but maybe not. Back in the Reagan administration, they used to run these public service announcements where you would see someone crack an egg and drop it into a pan. And they would say, "This was your brain on drugs," as the egg fried away. Trying to scare people away from using illicit drugs, which at the time was marijuana, so just so you get the idea. But you could use that same metaphor for romantic love. In fact, I think we probably should start running some PSAs because it's really just about as poisonous in many ways. When scientists take a look at the brains of people who are on romantic love, who call it on romantic love, they get the same readings they get from cocaine addicts. Their brains are flooded with dopamine. I mean, they're just flooded. Their prefrontal cortex no longer functions the way that it should. It's like it's being hijacked by this whole process. So decision making goes out the window. People who are in love make really, really, really bad decisions. And oddly enough, serotonin levels drop to extremely low levels, to the levels of people who are suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder. So you have this dichotomy of good feelings and distraction and the inability to make decisions that creates the perfect environment for you to commit yourself to things that you would not under normal conditions and to do things that you would not. Yet that dopamine rush is so addictive. Oh, it's so hard to let it go. And once you've had a taste of it, man, I've been down that thing so many times. It's very easy to fall into that trap. You think this is going to be the answer to your problems, but it's just the beginning of your problems. Carl Jung believed that romantic love was an illusion, that it was a projection of the mind onto another person, that it did not have a real basis in our reality. He believed there were two reasons why people fell in love. One was to compensate for something that we as individuals lack. So if you're really disorganized, maybe you go for an organized person. If you really got your shit together, maybe you go for the free spirit. Either way, you're trying to compensate for something that you believe is missing from within yourself. And you think that by finding it in this other person, that it's going to make you a more complete person. And of course, that is just not true. The second thing is the anima or the animus, where you think you have discovered the ideal feminine. You've discovered her. She fits that hierarchy, that archetype that you have in your brain for what that ideal woman is supposed to be. And she fits it so neatly that it seems almost predestined that you would find her. I have fallen into that trap a number of times. It's so easy to become very lost in the haze of that dopamine cloud. When your prefrontal cortex shuts down and everything just feels so mushy and gushy, and you're just like, ah, and she's a glazed donut on top of it. Man, I what was it Mr. T said? I pity the poor guy that gets himself into that situation, man. That is not where you want to be in your life. You think, the illusion is, you think that it's a good feeling. You think that this is the meaning of life. You think that there's something positive that's happening here. But the reality is, you've just lost your mind. You literally have lost your mind. You might as well just be taking some kind of an opioid or some other type of drug and living in some delusion. At least when you're drunk or you're high, you know you're drunk or high. And so the decisions that you're making during that time, you have some concept that maybe they're not exactly right. But when you're in love, you lose that opportunity because you haven't taken any drugs, at least not to your knowledge. You're just on the worst drug ever, the most potent drug ever, the most insidious drug, romantic love. Just like with any other drug addiction, you go through different phases. So in phase 1, she's perfect. She's everything you ever wanted. She's the perfect woman. She balances you out. You can see it. You imagine it. You see her making the pancakes in the morning. That's my favorite one. Yeah, getting some pancakes in bed. Oh, and glazed donuts at night. There is nothing better in the world. Your life has been completed. You have hit the apex of everything. Well, as you get to know her better, there are some cracks in the armor, some chinks in the armor. Something's not quite right. She has some flaws. And you go, ooh, this is kind of scary, because now I'm in this thing with all my drug addiction, and I have created this narrative around her. I'm getting a little concerned. And then stage 3, you have that feeling of, ooh, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to be involved in. What am I going to do now? And then in stage 4, the whole thing collapses. And there is the pain of withdrawal, just like with any other drug addiction. Doesn't matter if you're doing it or she's doing it. Once that collapse occurs and that withdrawal begins, it literally is like withdrawing from a drug. You have that same experience. There have been people who have taken opioid blockers to help them deal with the pain from a breakup. Yeah, so it's not just me telling you this. This is scientists telling each other that this experience that we have as human beings resembles very, very closely the experience that we have when we're under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Carl Jung believed that romantic obsession was just part of the growth of your human psyche, basically. And that every single time you went through the process of falling in love and breaking up, it was your own inner soul or psyche telling you to level up, get your shit together, to stop looking for stop looking outside for things that you should be finding inside. That's really what it boils down to. Romantic love is the ultimate game of external validation. Any way you cut it. You're looking for someone else to tell you on a regular basis that you're okay, that you're accepted, that you're such a good person that they will dedicate their life to you. And men and women approach this drug addiction from completely different perspectives. And that makes it even more complicated. It's a wonder that any of us ever get together. It's amazing that the human race has lasted as long as it has. Maybe this new decline in birth rates is the beginning of the end. Probably not, because people still like having sex. So we got that on our side. But it does make you stop and wonder, how did we get this far? If romantic love is like a drug addiction, then modern dating is basically like a existential crisis, because every single thing that you do or don't do seems to have these implications that are going to unfold for the rest of your life or for all eternity or whatever. So if you're on a dating app and you're swiping left and right, each decision that you make seems to have more consequence than it really should. Everyone that you swipe right on, you're thinking, you already started the process of projecting into them all of those things that you think that are important to you in terms of, is she going to be able to offset some of my weaknesses? Is she my ideal feminine? Is she going to make me pancakes in the morning? You know, is she a glazed donut? What exactly am I getting with this girl? And you're already reading through her profile, looking at her pictures and projecting onto her positives and negatives that you have no way of knowing. But each decision to swipe left or right feels like a consequential decision, and it's not. It's a little bit like playing the lottery. On one hand, you can't win unless you play, you know? So you're thinking, what's the harm of just giving it a shot? And let's say things work out to some degree and you get a date. You go to that coffee date. You're keeping it low key. You're trying to be cool about it. You sit down with this relatively attractive person that you swiped on, and she looks reasonably close to her pictures. I mean, enough that you are willing to hang out for the balance of the date. And the conversation starts to flow. Every word that comes out of your mouth now seems to be more consequential than any other conversation that you had. You're finding yourself in a chemical kind of dance with her. You're feeling a little bit of sexual energy rising inside you, if you know what I mean. You're making eye contact. There's something happening here. The conversation is really good. She's looking a lot better with every single moment that you sit there sipping away on your coffee. And then suddenly, without any warning, she says that she thinks astrology is a science. And something inside you screams. There's this deflation that occurs in your chest. It's almost visually capable. You're almost visually capable of seeing it. Like your whole persona just shrinks and you think, oh my God, I have just wasted so much time and energy and gotten myself so aligned with this girl and thought that she was just going to be working out. And then suddenly she's a nincompoop. She's an idiot. She's not what she appears to be. That is the more likely scenario than anything else that you're going to find. And that's the lucky thing. That's if things turn out well. You find out on that first date that she's an idiot. Where things don't go well is where you have multiple contacts. You know, maybe she's someone you work with, you know, and you see her every day. And you've got great chemistry when you're together at work, you know. It's a little flirty. There's a lot of eye contact, a lot of smiling. You know, you're thinking to yourself, oh, wow, I think she really, really likes me. And you ask her out, and she says, well, I'd love to go out with you, but, you know, it really would be, you know, improper since we're both working in the same place. It doesn't seem like the right thing, etc., etc., etc. But then she moves to a different department, and you're thinking, okay, here's my opportunity. A few months later. And then you find out, when you ask her out, that she has been having a secret relationship with someone else in your old department, maybe the boss. And you were fooling yourself this whole time for 3 or 4 months thinking that you were having a relationship with this girl, like she was somebody special, like she was something that was going to be an enhancement to your life. You already went through all the imagination of her walking barefoot in your kitchen in your oversized shirt with nothing on underneath. You already had those ideas in your head. You might have even been thinking, well, maybe she's the one, you know? You may have even been getting to that place. And then suddenly, without warning, you find out that you were deluding yourself the entire time. Yeah, she was flirting with you. She was definitely playing you. There's no question about it. She was absolutely playing you. But you were like the second string, you know? She was trying to keep you in the orbit just in case things didn't work out with the number 1 option. You were the number 2 option. And so instead of just being straightforward with you right from the very beginning and saying, hey, I've got a boyfriend, you know, when she sensed that there was something going on, and when you asked her out, she just kept you, you know, kind of stringing along, just like a, you know, I don't know what the right metaphor is here, but that's got to be one of the most deflating and worst kinds of rejection, because it's not just about the physical rejection that you're getting from her. It's about the inner thoughts that you're having now about how could I have been such an idiot? How could I have allowed myself to get into this situation where I'd put so much thought and energy and imagination into this imaginary relationship just to have it come crashing down all at once, and only to discover that it had all been a bit of a lie. You know, it was a dishonest thing. It was dishonest. I don't know if she would be actually lying, but it's definitely dishonest. You know, lie of omission, if nothing else. Something that most women will never fully understand about men is the amount of rejection that we experience during the course of our lives. Rejection is it feels like it accumulates over time. You know what I mean? Like when you're rejected for the first time, it's heartbreaking. You know, I remember, I don't know, in high school having some girl not want to go to the prom with me or whatever. Or no, I think it was to the first homecoming, and I was a freshman. And her name was Debbie Gant. She fell into my Olivia Newton-John stereotype. And oh, she sat in front of me in social sciences. And I thought, oh man, she's just it. She's just it. Yeah, she did not see that in me. I remember that rejection. Oh, it took me at least a week to fully recover from that, you know. And of course, then I see her every day in class, you know. So it's like, you just gotta suck it up, man. You suck it up and you just keep on going. And life is like that, except those rejections start to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate until eventually, you know, each one just hurts a little bit more, you know. And if you let it, it'll get inside your head, man. It'll get in your head. And next thing you know, you're on drugs for depression and anxiety, and you've got all kinds of avoidant issues with women, and I don't know. It just starts to turn into a mess. But women will never fully grasp the amount of rejection and the impact of rejection on men over time. And unfortunately, it's that rejection that leads us to be more desperate in our search for a woman. And that's what kind of creates the backdrop for that limited thinking that, you know, I need to accept whatever comes along, that idea that you don't have options, you know, that you've got this mentality of a lack mentality when it comes to women. And that will inevitably end up with you going home with that girl who thinks astrology is a science. It's like, well, I might not be able to get what I want, but I can want what I got, and I'll just do that. Yeah, that doesn't end well. We all know that. Eventually, if you're lucky, you'll have the thought that there is a way to break this cycle of biological intoxication and this neurological addiction to dopamine and this physiological reaction and this existential craziness that comes with romantic love. I mean, when you think about the whole thing, you wonder why anybody would get involved in it, quite frankly. But eventually, you come to the point where it's like, you know, I don't think this is healthy for me. I think this might be actually taking my life in the wrong direction. So what are the alternatives? Well, there is the liberation that comes from singlehood. And this is where Life 2.0 starts to kick in full blast. And you start to realize that maybe you're not failing at love. Maybe you've got some innate kind of self-preservation, where something inside you is preventing this meltdown from going full nuclear, you know? And you realize that you've dodged a lot of bullets. Maybe being single is the best way to move forward with the rest of your life. Maybe subjecting yourself to this continuous torture of, attraction, imagination, intoxication, and then rejection isn't really worth it. You know, maybe it's like, this really isn't even worth it. And even if you don't get the rejection at the end, then what happens? Then things get even worse. Then you get married. You know, and then you got to live with that, whatever choice you made for the rest of your life. In that drug-induced state, you make a decision, you go, oh, She's the one. I'm going to stay with her from now on. Ooh. Anyway, being single offers some opportunities for you to avoid this nightmare and to live a fulfilling life from an authentic perspective and have complete autonomy that can still allow you to have short-term relationships, to run into people, but it just doesn't make it your focus point, your focal point. You're not thinking this is something that's important for you to live a healthy, fulfilling life. You're no longer measuring your life by the standard of whether or not you got married or whether or not you have a romantic interest in your life at any given time. Society wants us to believe that this romantic nightmare is in some way the point of life. And I'm telling you, it's not. There are so many other ways to experience fulfillment in your life without going down the path of this craziness. Having a wide variety of healthy relationships in your life between men and women, friendships, some romantic, maybe not, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The great thing about friends is they don't care whether you get fat or not. You know, they don't care if your pants are too long or too short. They don't care if you've got some weird habits. You know, they're your friends. They like you anyway. You know what I mean? Acceptance can come on many different levels, and we can't take it for granted when you have friends that are in that layer, that level of acceptance with you. You know, and you accept them, they accept you. You all got your weird issues. You just it's Joe, he's just like that, you know, he's just fat, or he just likes video games, who cares, whatever. But when you're looking to get your validation from a woman or a romantic relationship, and you're seeking it actively, like on the dating apps, you're making it a hobby, you know, you're swiping day in and day out on every single woman, left and right, going through that existential nightmare of, is she gonna like me? Is she not gonna like me? Oh, she swiped on me. Now what do? Now I gotta have a conversation with her. You know, that whole thing is just such a waste of time and energy and money. And the likelihood that it's gonna take you to the places that you wanna go spiritually from a healthy relationship standpoint, very slim. So I have found in my life that the best things that I find when I'm not actively looking for them. So when someone just pops into your life and something just happens, spontaneously, maybe there's an opportunity for something like that, you know, take it slow. But dedicating a part of your time and energy every single week on a dating app to find somebody and to make it your mission to find a romantic relationship in order to complete your life, that is not a good use of your time. And it's not going to end well, more than likely. Some things just have to happen naturally. And you know something? If it doesn't, then it doesn't. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know somebody who is obsessed with this concept of getting the love of their life and finding them online or in some other weird way, and they're going through this biological up and down, this roller coaster from existential crisis to dopamine addiction to rejection and crashing and burning, please send them the video. Maybe they'll see the craziness of their behavior, and maybe they'll break the cycle. Because eventually, you gotta break the cycle, one way or the other. Anyway, till next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.